Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. This cartoon represents dialogues with a certain class of Black Americans, uh, not necessarily the hustler type. They represent that little sliver of wealth of our uh, $6 trillion out of the national household wealth. The the majority from Antonio Moore's work, we learned that the vast majority of that 6 trillion is in illiquid baby boomer assets and pensions. The black celebrity, their uh, or ideological foes like to pretend that makes up, a huge portion of like as if all of us have lucrative NBA contracts and deals with Arista Records or whatever. But but there's that little bit of legacy wealth is in there too, like a little bit, and uh, that the boule and that type, the ones who are legacy wealth from, they might not even have been slaves. Some of them, they might have been free from back during the Revolutionary War all the way up to now, and just feeling themselves. You know what I mean? Some of them are, engaged in politics in their own way, a very narrowly focused, self-serving way, you know. But sometimes when you encounter people, they don't want to hear the political advocacy message. They just want to live their lives and let others deal with that stuff, which is frustrating, because a lot of times when people have a certain amount of influence and stuff, that can really help with politics. You know, I know I'm devoted my work and stuff to it, but I recognize my own limitations and in my reach and in my own personality, and I'm not gonna reach that far. But other people who know how to play that game really well and do the networking and all that stuff, they're can be fantastic. But if they are those horse blinders on, it's only my stuff, and we're gonna be fine, and we don't play victim, and that's what it feels like to be disenfranchised. It's like we forgot what politics was. You know, forgot how to play the game. That's why when Yvette says stuff like the movement work, and how it comes across when she says it, it's like this is a vast body of very important knowledge that feels out of reach. Not out of reach that we can't do it, but out of reach like, when did we set this down? Like it reminds me of when I first met Antonio. It was when he had that long interview with Byron Allen, and Byron introduced to me the concept of economic inclusion, and that when he was going down the checklist of things we're as a people we're trying to achieve in his conversation with Coretta Scott King, when he explained what economic inclusion was, I felt like a whoosh, like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? So when you look through history, particularly myself, at the Reconstruction era and how we were when slavery was abolished and we were freed, and the moves the former slaves made immediately, and the things they were doing, like the dynamicism of that of what Reconstruction represented. And you saw who among them was doing it and who was doing this stuff. And, so today, when you see certain figures and certain classes of Black Americans who are still around, who have memory of those days, that's how old they are. And they're not, in the game like that, the way they were then. That's the part that can be frustrating sometimes. It's like, how do we get? I mean, I know how we got so far away from where we're supposed to be, but sometimes it can feel overwhelming when you look at the personalities and when you have the same arguments and people say the same stuff, when they get defensive and holding on to their little piece of what they think they have that will poof. All it takes is like one diabolical policy move from our old enemy, and you don't have nothing now because you weren't actively engaged in trying to reach that, But that's a big part of the counter attack against us, is to make us feel that way. You're not only have been pushed out of the political process, but you've been socially engineered to think that it doesn't matter and you don't need to be. And you get mad because they're not doing their job and you don't have to actually engage them. I threw my vote somewhere over there in that direction, and how come I don't have specific things for me? That's broken. You're broken in your mentality about it. That's what I mentioned the other day, like how the Republicans do politics is how we all should be doing it, with focused vision. What do I want? Over how long is it going to take? Like, what are the objectives to get to this goal? And all hands on deck and go, go, go. How they do it is how it's supposed to be done, for us as a political identity group. That's the model, in its most ideal form. Like every time you look over there, they got like, may I help you? You know what I'm saying? That's how they function. We all should function that way, because that's how our political system is designed to function. Political groups, collectively in these interconnected groups working towards to get the things they want for uplift as a group. That's how politics is designed to work. It's not designed for the single individual to do stuff. You all come together in your interests and then move in that way. So if we're the way we are now, scattered, don't have a focused vision, don't have a particular agenda, but now we have it with the DOS. That's what they represent. This is our political advocacy group. This is our organization. So it's our job to find out what is it that our dedicated activists for our particular identity group, who 100% have our interest at heart, fighting on our behalf for, and what can we do to be part of it to get it happening faster? That's our job. You see what I mean? So if you don't know if you're just winging it, something about reparations, something, I heard, I don't think that's likely. And if you just, that's wrong. You need to be engaged. You need to know what it is. You need to know what they're fighting for you for and what you can do. There's been I saw a series of tweets the other day where they were talking about slavery items on upcoming ballots in certain states. And the nature of those items were people trying to remove that infamous 13th Amendment loophole that makes, slavery is still legal for those who've been convicted of a crime. If you're in the system, you get to be their slave. They're trying to remove that, you know. So obviously that's a thing. So one of my Infinity Gem articles that I share all the time is that I think it was during Katrina, there was this Texas article that came out saying these paymasters were bemoaning all this money they had lost, like $500,000 in freshly picked cotton from the local prison convicts. And I'm like, you know, just seeing that machine, that loophole still being used for the exact same purpose it was put into the, Amendment 4. They milked the shit out of it. Of course they did. Up to now, that's what it's for. So, one of the items that was a major red flag for your girl Harris was that she was like 100% taken under the table, bribes to like keep that going where she was. Thing is, the bottom line is that if we're not engaged in fighting for ourselves in the system that's designed to be, another battleground, you got to be on it continuously, like thinking through it. What could they possibly do to counter this? And what can we do to counter the counter? Like, you got to continuously be in the war room, on it. That's how politics functions. It's not just a toss your vote and turn your back on it and going about your business. You gotta that's part of your thing, you know. The way you gotta build it into your entertainment that you never let go of, things that we care about that represents the entertainment. We gotta start building our political life in that way too. Make it a game, make it fun, get in there, dig in it. Like, it has to be a new part of our culture until mastery. We have to. The alternative is we will be returned to the shackles. I keep saying that, and people would just thought it's just hyperbole. No, it's not hyperbole. You cannot underestimate that big money and what that means. The obscene great wealth of the West was built from chattel slavery. The entire apparatus that enabled that to be is still in place. And if they didn't have to pay workers wages, they still drew over when America was great, unquote. Do not underestimate that. So all the moves, you can see how they're treat the people in Flint and treating the people in Jackson. You can see they don't care about you. They care about you as far as how much money they can squeeze out of you again, because they long for the return of that. So you have to be actively in the fight in a variety of ways. For now, we're talking about political advocacy. Get in that game and be about it. And you can win it. That's why they do vote suppression, to keep you out of it. That's why they do all the moves they do in some suppression, subjugation form, is so that they can exploit you and not compete with you, compete against you. They don't want to compete. They don't want you actively in the markets with them. They want you on the outside, easy to exploit. If you're not engaged, then you're letting them win. Please engage. It's time. Go to the ADOS Advocacy Foundation site and get smart on that stuff. And let's start moving forward. Thank you. Peace.